Hello everyone, this is That's Bananas back at it again with another episode. Thanks for tuning in and we hope you had a great week.
This is the official podcast of GEM's Taiwan iGEM team. If you don't remember me, I'm Joy and I'm one of the hosts.
And I'm Alexa, the other host.
So today we have a very, very special guest joining us.
Let's welcome one of our team members, Morris.
Yay!
Please give us a self-introduction.
Hello. I'm Morris, and I'm a member of the software team and also the cameraman of this podcast.
So give us some background information. What do you do in the software team?
So in the software team, we code for the wiki. So then we take the content and then we put them in the website. And then we also do the designing and yeah, that's pretty much it. We just make the website.
Yeah.
Great.
A lot of hard work recently because we're like kind of summing up our project right now. And
Really
doing the wikis.
close to the deadlines.
Yeah, they're like working really hard trying to set up the page for a presentation. Yes. So in this episode, we will be discussing the ethics and morals of synthetic biology and biotechnology.
This should be a pretty interesting topic. I remember we slightly touched on this in our first episode.
Yeah, that's right. And if you have not checked our first episode, definitely give it a little listen.
Right, so let's begin today's episode with this question in mind. What is bioethics?
Well, we said it before, biotechnology and science biology is literally everywhere. But as we are people, there are ethical and moral concerns to everything. That means they are ethical and moral concerns to synthetic biology. So yeah, it is basically the ethics of medical and biological research.
That's right. And it can also relate to the ethical implications and applications towards all biological related sciences.
New technology and advances has brought all sorts of new medicine, procedures, and relevation to the biofield. Yet these same technologies and advances can turn into destructive weapons and harm, and could bring damage and harm to our society.
Now, let's talk about a really controversial topic that I think we also touched on our first episode. It's the designer babies.
Oh, yeah. Like, news. I mean, is it even legal yet?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about it, Morris? Genetic
I don't think
engineered babies.
I don't think it's legal because I remember like a scientist in China, they like genetically engineered a baby to be immune to a disease, and even that's considered unethical. So I don't think designer babies are good.
Actually, that scientist was a Chinese scientist in 2018, and he announced that he edited embryos using CRISPR, which is a form of gene editing technology, to make them immune to the HIV virus, and they were called Lulu and Lala.
Wow. Wait, but how exactly is that unethical? How do we even determine or define its ethicality? Is that even a word?
Well, that's a really good question. Imagine,
should they have the rights to be able to be immune to a disease?
Morris, what do you think?
Just because they have money and the privilege to have access to those technologies, should they be able to do it?
I think they should probably be able to do it because it doesn't really have a negative effect, but then they also have to consider if there's any side effects, it's going to affect the baby for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
more for them.
Mm-hmm.
But other people, what about us? What if we're poor AF and we don't have money to access those technology? It's really unfair for us.
Yeah, I think that goes into the social implications of these technology, right? Because we have to consider how they could separate the gap between the poor and the rich even more. And that definitely contributes to how society functions.
Yeah. And we just literally touched upon synthetic biology years ago. And it's we're really new to these technology. Although we might know the side effects, we can't really prevent anything. We don't know the possibilities that could happen by implementing these symbiotic technologies to us.
That's right. And we also have to consider the effects down our generation, because if his experiment was to go through, right? And babies were supposedly immune from the HIV virus. And if we consider how it's going to affect like germline editing, like passing it down through the generations,
to
then
another generation.
it could affect all of us.
Yeah. And that's literally just like one example. And genetic alteration is not just like, oh, immune system or like immune from a specific disease. It's also like, what is it? Physical appearances, like eye color, hair color. Parents have the availability to choose it for their children. So, Morris, do you think that's okay to be choosing that for a child?
I don't think it's like okay to base your child and like their life based on your own preference. Like they should be able to choose, but then they also they don't have the ability to choose. So then like it should just be like their natural genes. It shouldn't be edited because it's the parents' preferences, not the child's preferences.
Yeah,
That's right. I
consent.
agree.
It's a matter of consent.
I feel like regarding physical outlook and physical appearance, like imagine altering your child to have like some sort of different eye color, and when they are born, they don't want that eye color. And that goes against their own preference, right?
Yeah, like there's like standards. It's like you want all your babies to have blonde hair, blue eyes, or like a small nose or whatever, big eyes, big lips. Like everyone's probably gonna look the same at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that just lacks the like diversity of us being human beings. And like a culture might be diminished.
But moving on from physical attributes, I read an article about these scientists trying to edit out the death gene so that down the generations there wouldn't be any people who are born deaf.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like if you're to have like both parents being deaf, their child is basically like an 100% chance that they're going to be deaf as well, right? So if we were to edit that gene out, then they have the possibility of giving birth to a baby who's not deaf.
Is that also genetic?
Yeah. But that goes into the social implication. Like, are we...
Some people can't afford it. And
Yeah,
some people
exactly.
can.
Exactly. And what about the deaf community? Right?
I feel like that is actually pretty controversial because that is kind of like, you know, those eye surgeries. And some people are not blind, like they have like they're farsighted or nearsighted, and they can get the surgery to their eyes and to like change your convex lens and or concave lenses in your eyes. And then, but you have to pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
Some people have the money to do those treatments and get like their eyesight better, but some people don't.
Yeah.
So is this similar to a synthetic biology engineering?
Morris, any thoughts?
give us a hand.
Well, I don't really know much on this like this front of the topic, but there's definitely potential for there to be like two classes of society where like one class you'll be able to fix your own flaws and then like your inabilities, and the other and they're just unable to fix their own problems because they didn't have money in the first place.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like if this was to happen down the line, there's a possibility that half the population is going to be well adapted, physically, mentally better because of all these new changes. And then that would make them like the superior race, and then it would increase the gap even more.
Yeah, that's like history repeating itself. It's like we're going back to the medieval ages where there's like a hella classes, like I don't know, and the rich people and the servants and the slaves. I don't really think that's a good approach to our future because, you know, we're trying to not do the same things again because history should not repeat itself no matter if it's good or bad. Like, you know, technology is good and all, but there's always drawbacks, as we just said.
On the topic of these designer babies, what do you guys think about the nature versus nurture debate?
Yeah, I feel like we learned a lot. Me and Morris learned a lot at school, and we were trying to like preach this topic for a while now because like designer babies, like we talked about physical applications. Like, what if we can alter their personalities? Are we even allowed to do that? Morris, do you think that's possible? Like, our personalities like develop as you are a baby when you're born, or like outer influences?
It's definitely like a combination of both, and like if like as you grow, as you learn more information, your personality is definitely going to change based on your surroundings. But there's definitely like an element of gene, like how your personality is going to be like without influences. But then I think the majority is still like nurture, because the more information you know, you're going to change yourself based on those informations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think environment's really important for the growth and development of a child.
Yeah, because scientists all over the world has different, like, it's very controversial, and there's a lot of debates upon like whether if a certain like kind of genes of a child that allows them to become kind of like a certain personality trait. And what if like the parents don't like this personality trait? They don't want their child to be like arrogant or like stupid or whatever. So they modify their genes to make them smart, perfect, and all of that. Like, that's so, it's kind of messed up and really unauthentic.
Yeah,
You know, you're born the way you are, right?
that's right.
You shouldn't alter it with technology. Like, it's missing the point of us being humans.
Right. Now let's move on to a different topic. So we all know about these genetically modified like organisms.
Oh, GMOs.
Yeah, GMOs. So
It's kind of more related to our iGEM topic right now, because we talked about if with Ryan in our last episode about bananas, right? And how we're basing our project upon it. It is literally just synthetic biology. Like, yeah.
So I read an article about this, I think, British company trying to genetically modify a type of mosquito called Aedes aegypti. And
What?
this type of mosquito can carry Zika and dengue. And in some places, they've already been resistant to.
Is that kind of fever?
Oh, sorry, I meant Zika, I think.
Zika and dengue fever.
Yeah.
It's like mosquito fever.
So basically, like the mosquitoes carry that disease, and when they sting you, you get that disease. And then
is it
not-
fatal? It's not.
it's pretty
good.
fatal, yeah.
So they're trying to modify those mosquitoes into
Yeah.
like when they bite us, we won't get those diseases.
So essentially, in that kind of mosquito, only the females bite and carry the disease. So they're trying to create a GM so that when the males mate with the females, only the male offspring would survive. So that means the female wouldn't be able to pass on the disease.
But how would it reproduce?
So, like, when they reproduce, the gene that transmits the disease gets passed down to only the female offspring. So the male offspring doesn't carry the disease. So if we're stung by them, then it's fine. So they want to create it so that when they mate together, there is no female offspring. Like, they just die. Yeah. And the problem is with their trials going on, they want to release it to the public to try it out. And that goes into ethical concerns about public consent.
Public consent. We consent to mosquito biting us.
Like, just consent in general about like releasing or doing this like experimental trial in the public.
Should they allow that? Like, what if there's like
Exactly.
a risk of like a certain mosquito having the disease in the lab and they release it and then that person innocently got the disease from the stupid mosquito?
There's always that risk, but the big question is, if we aren't able to try it in real life, then how can we know if it's effective, right? And this doesn't just apply to this mosquito example. This applies to all synthetic biology and biotechnology, like technologies that are developing right now.
Any comments?
There should be like a controlled testing environment with like significant sample sizes, so that like they can be more generalized and then like applied to the public. Like you have to go through like thorough testing before you actually release it to the public, or else like if there's like mutations or anything like that, it's not gonna harm like the society in general, like the population.
Could be like a simulation of like a certain area of like controlled variables and stuff, like exact identical to real life, and like you can test it out. But it's a long process. But to be honest, I think this is an example of putting synthetic biology to good use. And like I was saying, like the genetically altered babies, not immune to disease, but like physical traits. It's more kind of unnecessary. And this is like putting synthetic biology actually into good use and preventing us humans and even animals from getting diseases that are like fatal and that could harm our biodiversity and other sorts of aspects.
Right.
Yeah.
There was this big question also that like releasing these GM organisms, is that intervening in life without consent?
Yeah.
And if like people hear more of this idea, we have the risk of turning people against technology. So would that stop the progress that we've made so far?
Because I'm not sure if this is ever related, but in Taiwan, we have this thing called, gongtou, like a few months ago. I don't know the English. If we know the English, we can put it on the screen. But it's like a section of different types of stuff, and it's like voted for like they take like public surveys for the public, let them vote on whether if this should be implemented. So one of the examples was like creating a protection area for like what is the English for that? Coral reefs, and then it's like whether if we should implement this area of protection area, and the public are allowed to like vote yes and no, and then it's just decided on that. So I think for this is not as like too offensive for people, and it's not like it's like we need to do anything. It's like for the betterment of our society. I think it could be a good idea for the public to vote on it, and for the people who did not participate, it's their fault if it went through and they don't want it to go through.
Yeah, the public, they're gonna have to be like educated on the topic, or else they're just gonna pick based on their assumptions about
that's exactly what I was thinking too, right? So I think it's very important that like the public is aware of these like experiments and developments are going on, so that they're not just biased in their preference and like so fast to saying, oh no, we should not be doing that.
Yeah. So if you want something to be implemented or you don't want something to implement, you have to care about your community in order to know what's going on exactly.
Because do some good research about it too.
If you're ignorant and you're mad about things happening right now, you should have like listened earlier.
Yeah.
That's like problems with this synthetic biology. You want everyone's consent. But you
You
can't go around asking everyone, do you agree with this?
Right.
Everyone has different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like majority wins,
Right. So I actually read an example that's similar to this. It's about GMO crops. So similar to our project, this person was also trying to find a cure for Panama wilt, and
our project one.
Yeah, similar to our project basically, and he created this GMO that would be able to withstand the virus. However, a lot of consumers are generally have like a negative view per GMOs because they believe that, oh, it's fake, it's chemically produced, or like
people think that.
Yeah,
it's a common perception.
And that leads to the big question that like, could public resistance block the development of like these new crops? Because these new crops are important to us, because like with all the climate change and issues going around the world, right, we need crops that are able to adapt, and that could be made possible through these scientific developments. But if people are against these developments because of some perception that they already had prior to knowing these, then it could block off these new developments.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's like the public definitely has to be informed. Like in Taiwan, I think they in like supermarkets they say like this is not genetically modified, like as if it has like a negative connotation to it, and then like it's like just if the public doesn't know that like genetically modified organisms aren't necessarily bad, then they should be able to like make decisions based on that.
Right, exactly.
It's important to like educate people with whether if this is actually good. Like if they think everyone thinks like genetic like elder food are like chemically produced, as you said, or bad for our public health. But is that even true? Is that even like
I feel like it's very controversial because we know that some fruits, such as like apples, are modified so that their color is more red, and that's more appealing to consumers. But in our case, such as this banana, we are making a resistance to these change in environmental factors and diseases, and that is very important and beneficial for us.
Yeah, and I think as synthetic scientists, they'll also like definitely consider the health and like the chemical it brings to us and concerns of the consumers, because it's food, right? Because they'll definitely care about it. So they'll definitely try their best to like modify it into something that's safe for us to eat.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's really important that the public is more educated on these topics, because if this product, this banana, was to go on the market, we need people to buy it because these GMOs aren't that cheap and easy to produce, right? So it's important that the public is well informed and know what they're getting.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on. Have you guys heard of Elon Musk's new development?
Neuralink.
Neuralink.
Oh, sorry. Neuralink. What is it?
So, Neuralink is technically a neurotechnological company ran by Elon Musk, which we know also founded Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah.
And essentially with this project, he's creating chips that can be implemented or implanted into a person's skull to track brain activity.
What?
That's crazy.
That's actually crazy. Wait, you know, when we talked about nature and nurture, in that unit, we also like learn about kind of like sci-fi stuff. And then we were talking about how we can like, there's like an episode in Black Mirror that's like you can have like a person you can have like a piece of your brain and then put into a machine, and it can like control it with your brain. Like you can control your house lighting and your like furnitures and stuff through your brain, and your brain
That's
is like, I want to turn the lights on, and lights turn on. That's like a sci-fi. And like, how do we even do that? Is this possible? Like,
well,
thing he's doing.
I think with this chip, how it works is that since like the brain is made out of neurons that transmits information to different parts of the body to signal them what to do, right? So to detect the activity of these neurons, the chip would consist of tiny wires equipped with like a lot of electrodes that would cover the whole brain. So whatever is signaling or going around, the chip would be able to notice that and interpret what you're like thinking or doing.
That is very sci-fi. It sounds like it's from a movie.
Morris, have you any ideas of the ethical concerns of this chip?
Do you think that ethically is ever right?
Well, I've never heard of this as like new technology, but then just like looking at it, like at first sight, it just raises the concern of like, what if the chip malfunctions? Does the person just like go crazy?
What happens to your mind? Like, does it like, what if someone hacks into your system?
Right, that's the
and
big
then
question.
your brain just doesn't work anymore.
Exactly, since it's a form of technology, like if someone was able to somehow hack into that chip, like would they be able to control your mind?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's also like the privacy side. Like who would be able to see your data? Like
right,
would you?
Right.
What if Elon Musk can like see what you're thinking?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
kind of
open doors to mind reading too.
Yeah.
And well, on the main purpose for this chip, according to Elon Musk, was that for people such as those with Parkinson's who can't like hold things well or type things well, the chip was supposedly be able to help them communicate their actions and ideas.
Oh.
Now that's the beneficial side,
Yeah,
and
I
how
think, like, it could
ethically it's well, but the side effects are a lot.
Yeah, it could be a pretty good implementation for a like disabled people, and like because like technology is not like all development stuff. There's like lack of there's like a lack of technology for like different disabilities, and I feel like this could be a good like approach to it. But yeah, of course, drawbacks and what is it, side effects.
Right.
Like how bad could it even be?
Would the brain be able to like adapt to the chip? Like would it get
That's right.
would it get like used to the chip, and then like maybe it's gonna like sideload their other functions to the chip, and then like if you remove the chip, your brain will be like non-functional, and then like if the chip like malfunctions, then your brain just wouldn't be able to function. That's also like a concern.
Yeah. That's a very big concern. So I guess we'll just watch from the side and see how they progress with this new development.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I feel like we could like kind of sum up our ideas today and like come to a conclusion, because we talk about a lot of examples
Right.
of synthetic biology and whether if we think it is ethical. Of course, everyone has like different.
right.
We're just talking from like our perspective, and I feel like more people would agree on our perspective for now, because
Right.
it's like more ethically right. But no one ever defines that. There's like no like a book of ethical.
Right. And
Like,
that
this
I
is right,
think
this is wrong. you know?
that's why it's so hard to come up with these regulations, because everyone has different standards of what is ethically or morally correct and what's wrong.
That's true. From like, what's the first one we talked about? Babies?
Yeah, designer babies.
The designer baby. And there's categories. There's personality and
Physical attributes, and there's also like
physical traits. And then
yes, there's
it's
also
body response. Like,
yeah, germline editing.
like it's all, there's three things, and they're like some are ethically right and some are ethically wrong. For the immune things, like it is right to do that. Like it is a good thing to like change your how your body responds to diseases and prevent your body from getting those diseases. But for the eyes and hair color thing, it's more, it's like it's unnecessary and
Right.
it's unethically
Right.
it's ethically wrong. Like you shouldn't be choosing that for a child, right? As far as we think. Yeah, and the other stuff, the Elon Musk, which I think is pretty decent.
I feel like
And
Elon Musk's Neuralink, we just gotta keep on observing and listening to how it's progressing, because we really don't have enough information right now about what it's going on.
yeah, so do you have anything else to add on to our today's discussion?
Not really.
Well, thank you, Morris, for joining us today. We had a great conversation about synthetic biology and biotechnology regarding
Yeah.
its ethics and morals. And we also provided some examples and gave our opinions on these controversial
Yes.
topics.
Yeah, so please don't get offended by any of the following we just said,
Right.
because this is just our personal chat and discussion. Maybe we're wrong, maybe we're right, and who knows what's wrong and what's
Exactly.
right.
No one ever knows. And this is
Yeah.
supposed to be a controversial episode anyways.
So you should be warned before you click in it if you
Right.
see the title ethics and
Definitely.
morals.
Go read more, go research more and about the examples that we talked about, and maybe provide some of your insights in the comment section.
Yeah, and now you know how crazy synthetic biology and biotechnology can.
Right. It can affect everywhere, from mosquitoes to the food you're eating.
Yes, exactly.
So we hope you enjoyed our episode today on That's Bananas.
Yeah, and if for more information, you can go search on our Instagram, which is
At
gems
underscore
Taiwan.
And
Yes,
definitely watch our first and second episode.
And yeah, the Jamboree is coming soon. We're marching towards the end of our iGEM.
Right.
Yes.
So we'll see you guys next week. And that's Bananas.
Bye.
Bye. More say bye.
Bye.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.